Hello and welcome. We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India signs historic trade agreement with four-nation EFTA bloc. Agreement paves way for investment of $100 billion in India over the next 15 years. Mobile phone manufacturing scripts an unmatched success story. India's mobile phone production nears rupees 20 lakh crore in a decade of unprecedented growth. 97% of all mobile phones sold in India are made in India. In badminton, world number 1 doubles pair Satwik-Chirag, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty storm into the finals of French Open for the third time. Lakshya Sen bows out. Alright, we'll start with the top story. India has signed Trade and Economic Participation Agreement (TEPA) with the four-nation European Free Trade Association (EFTA) in New Delhi on Sunday. It has commitment for investment of $100 billion in India over the next 15 years to generate 1 million jobs. The agreement has 14 chapters including trade in goods and services, government procurement, technical barriers to trade and trade facilitation. Along with other advantages, FTAs allows exporters access to international market at low custom duties. India so far has inked 13 free trade agreements with its partners, the most recent ones with Mauritius, UAE and Australia. And addressing the event, Union Minister Piyush Goyal said trade agreement symbolizes our shared agreement to open, fair, equitable trade.
The trade agreement symbolizes our shared commitment to open, fair, equitable trade as well as generating growth and employment for the youth. In the last 10 years, India's economy has taken a quantum leap, moving from being the world's 11th largest economy to the 5th largest. Through wide-ranging reforms, we have enhanced the ease of doing business that has helped our nation touch new heights in business, manufacturing and exports. India will extend all possible support to EFTA countries and facilitate industry and businesses.
And over the last 10 years, PM Modi's Make in India initiative has surged ahead, particularly evident in India's mobile phone production, marking an unparalleled triumph in the manufacturing sector. The sector has transitioned from being 78% import dependent in 2014 to 97% self-sufficiency currently. As per industry body India Cellular and Electronics Association, mobile phone production has also surged from rupees 18,900 crore in 2014-15 to an estimated rupees 4,10,000 crore in financial year 2024, registering an increase of 2,000%. As per ICEA, India produced 2.45 billion units of mobile phones during this 10-year period against a goal of 2.5 billion units. Plus, in 2014-15, mobile phone exports from India amounted to only rupees 1,556 crore. The industry anticipates closing financial year 2024 with an estimated export value of rupees 1,20,000 crore. This exponential growth in production, exports and self-sufficiency is the result of a conducive policy environment and a close working relationship between the industry and key government ministries. And India has close and long-standing relations with Mauritius, an island nation in the Western Indian Ocean, anchored in shared history, demography and culture. The development partnerships have been the foundation pillars of ties between the two nations. All right, we'll go across live now where Union Minister Piyush Goyal is addressing.
between EFTA and India. I would like to thank my colleague ministers, Minister Guy Parmelin, Minister Yani, Minister Yan, and Minister Dominique. I would like to acknowledge the huge contribution of Helene Budlinger from Switzerland and Commerce Secretary Sunil Barthwal, and our two negotiators who did a fabulous job in a short period of time burning the midnight oil. Marcus from Switzerland, representing EFTA countries, and Satya Srinivas from India. This agreement reflects confidence and trust. It also showcases the growing importance of the relationship between EFTA countries and India, India's growing stature, our commitment to openness, collaboration, and shared prosperity between the people of the five countries. It's an ambitious agreement. It integrates economies and enhances flow of trade and investments. It also focuses on sustainable growth, integrates India with many new global value chains, and promises huge business opportunities and employment opportunities to the people of the five countries. It's an innovative free trade agreement. It considers the sensitivities of all five countries to ensure universally being welcomed by businesses across the five nations. But most importantly, it brings in a new element for the first time in the history of FTAs, where investment commitment has been brought into a free trade agreement to balance the asymmetries between the economies of the EFTA region and the Indian economy, the large benefits that India brings to the table in terms of the demographic dividend, a young aspirational India, large pool of manpower and talent. All of this is being supplemented with innovative technologies and huge investment capabilities of the EFTA countries, thereby bringing both synergy and balance to this agreement. We have ensured that it covers all the modern elements of an FTA, environment and trade, IPR, gender, a number of elements which have been concluded for the first time by India, also reflecting a new resurgent India, full of self-confidence, full of a do spirit, a can-do spirit, and a welcoming spirit, where we are looking at engaging with the developed world from a position of strength and confident that our businesses can compete, our people can bring to fruition the benefits of this new FTA. There's a commitment for foreign direct investment flowing from EFTA countries to India of approximately $100 billion in the next 15 years, creating 1 million jobs in India. But in the process, not only giving an avenue for the large pools of capital available with these super developed economies, if I may say, but also helping them to take the benefits of their research and development, innovation, and modern technologies, not only to meet the needs of 1.4 billion Indians, but also to make them at economic and affordable cost, leveraging on the benefits of large economies of scale and affordable manpower, so that the technologies from our EFTA partner countries can meet the needs of the entire world from India. Thank you very much, colleague ministers, for your support. All the five countries stand to benefit. We stand to benefit in terms of investment, innovation, and R&D. you stand to benefit from the collaboration in terms of your ability to meet 7 to 8 billion people's needs across the world. I am confident that this agreement will be good for businesses in all the 5 countries. It has been welcomed by all the business communities on both sides. A lot of stakeholder consultation running into hours and hours and hours of multiple meetings, probably several hundred engagements between industry and line ministries in India. This will also provide a conducive trade environment and confidence to businesses and investors on both sides as we integrate India into the European market and with our EFTA partner countries. I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the leadership of all the 4 EFTA partners in helping us create a win-win platform for balanced, sustainable and economic growth of all the 5 economies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure.
Minister Piyush Goyal from New Delhi speaking on India signing historic trade agreement with 4-nation EFTA bloc. He said trade agreement symbolizes our shared agreement to open, fair and equitable trade. Also said that it promises huge business and job opportunities in India and confident that this agreement will be good for the countries. Moving on to our next story now, India has presented a detailed model on behalf of the G4 nations for the reform of the United Nations Security Council. Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj presented the G4 model on behalf of Brazil, Germany, Japan and India, aiming to initiate debate, dialogue and ultimately negotiations. These proposals received strong support from a wide range of UN members. A report.
India has proposed a detailed model representing the G4 nations for Security Council reform. It suggests adding new permanent members elected by the General Assembly and shows flexibility on the veto issue. India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, emphasized the importance of the UN's 88th anniversary next year as a milestone to make tangible progress on the long-pending issues of Security Council reform. Participating in the intergovernmental negotiation, she represented the G4 model on behalf of Brazil, Germany, Japan and India, sparking a strong support from a wide range of UN members.
We join the majority of member states in calling for a reformed Security Council that is more representative of the UN membership, with members elected through a charter-based democratic process. Under the model, we advocate that any member, large or small, is welcome to be a candidate for a new permanent seat on a reformed council to be elected in a General Assembly election on the basis of its own merit and capacity to assume responsibility for maintaining international peace and security.
Kamboj highlighted that the geopolitical landscape has significantly evolved since the Security Council's establishment in 1945. She emphasized the need for change in line with current realities during her presentation of the comprehensive G4 model to UN member states.
The G4 position on the issue of the veto, colleagues, is very well known. While the new permanent members would, as a principle, have the same responsibilities and obligations as current permanent members, they shall not exercise the veto until a decision on the matter has been taken during a review. Since the issue of the veto is important, it would be desirable to sort it out with other critical topics. And at the same time, we should not allow the veto issue to have a veto over the process of the Council reform itself. Our proposal, I would also add, is also a gesture of showing flexibility on the issue for a constructive negotiation.
The G4 model suggests expanding the Security Council's membership from 15 to 25-26 with the addition of 5 permanent and 4 or 5 non-permanent members. Of the 6 new permanent members, 2 each are proposed to be from African states and Asia-Pacific states, 1 from Latin America and Caribbean states, and 1 from Western European and other states. Syed Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
And Nigeria's spate of abductions worsened on Saturday as gunmen kidnapped at least 15 people from a school in Nigeria in a dawn raid, days after about 300 children were abducted in another armed raid. Meanwhile, the army is still searching for hundreds of school children taken in the western town of Kuriga. Until Thursday's abduction, Nigeria had witnessed a lull in mass kidnappings from schools in July 2021, when some 150 students were abducted by armed men. Nearly 30 out of 300 school children who were kidnapped in Nigeria last week have escaped, according to state officials. It is not clear as yet which militant group is behind the kidnapping. But Nigerian authorities say they are intensifying search operations to rescue the rest of the kidnapped children. DD India's Nabil Ahmed Rufai has more.
The kidnapping of about 300 school children in northern Nigeria is the largest mass abduction in the country in 3 years. It has devastated the West African country, which has been striving to stop such crimes, bringing back the memory of the mass abduction of nearly 300 schoolgirls in Chibok by the militant group Boko Haram 10 years ago. Eyewitnesses say the latest incident happened on Thursday when gunmen on motorcycles rode through schools and abducted dozens of students. According to school teachers and parents, the kidnapped children are between the ages of 8 and 15. One pupil was shot by the gunmen and later died while receiving treatment in a hospital. Nigerian authorities say they have deployed the police to form search parties with local residents to try and rescue the kidnapped children. The kidnapping has ignited fears among parents in northern Nigeria who are reluctant to allow their children to go to school due to the safety concerns. No group has claimed responsibility for the abduction as yet, but it is suspected that a breakaway group from Boko Haram, known as Ansaru, may be behind the abduction. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, reporting in Accra, Ghana, for DD India.
Moving on to some international stories. After providing humanitarian aids via airdrops, U.S. dispatches vessel to provide aid to Gaza by sea. As per an official statement on Sunday, U.S. Army vessel General Frank S. Besson departed Joint Base Langley Eustis en route to the eastern Mediterranean to provide humanitarian aid to Gaza. The vessel contains equipment for the establishment of a temporary pier for the delivery of vital humanitarian supplies. Now, Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said naval dock intended to bring humanitarian aid into Gaza after it undergoes full Israeli inspection on Saturday.
Based on the instruction of the defense minister and together with our partners in the United States and the American Central Command, we are coordinating the establishment of a temporary floating naval dock intended to bring humanitarian aid into Gaza after it undergoes full Israeli inspection. The mission is a cooperation between Israeli Army and United States Central Command. We will distribute the equipment through international organizations to populations in need.
And US President Joe Biden and Donald Trump campaigned on Saturday in the US state of Georgia. That will be the first face-off of the 2024 general election. Biden and Trump clashed with dueling campaign visits to the same state for the second time this year, making their pitches in battleground Georgia. Holding his event in Atlanta, Biden took aim at Trump for entertaining Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban at his Florida club in recent days, accusing him of sucking up to dictators and authoritarian thugs all around the world. President Biden reiterated his view that Trump's story of resentment, revenge and retribution was not in the best interests of voters.
It can tell you a lot about a person who he keeps company with. And yesterday he was hosting at his club Viktor Orban, who says he doesn't think democracy works call him a fantastic leader. Seriously. He's been sucking up to win him. Anyway. To want to build dictators and authoritarian thugs all around the world.
And after returning to Georgia, former US President Donald Trump said Biden is a threat to democracy.
He's a threat to democracy. I will tell you, he's a threat to democracy. Weaponize government, weaponize the FBI, weaponize the DOJ. He's a threat to democracy for other reasons also. Number one, he's grossly incompetent. Joe Biden gave the most divisive, partisan, radical, and extreme speech ever delivered by a president in that chamber, not even close.
And French President Emmanuel Macron's political party Renaissance launched its campaign on European Parliament elections in the northern city of Lille as it trails behind the far-right party. The French president said, in fact, has picked Valérie Hare, the 37-year-old head of the Renew group in the European Parliament, to lead his camp in the June 9 polls. Prime Minister Gabriel Attal, who took office after a reshuffle last January, has portrayed Le Pen's Rassemblement National Party as beholden to Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to a survey, Renaissance is polling second at 20% of voting intentions, while the Socialist Party is at 9 to 10%, and the right wing, the Republicans, are tied at 8%. And voters in Ireland rejected two proposed changes to the references on family and women in its constitution. The two proposals, called the Family Amendment and the Care Amendment, aim to change the text of Article 41 in the Irish constitution. Proposals to alter wording in the constitution to include families which are not based on marriage were defeated with 67.7% voting no. A second proposed change on the wording around the role of women in the home was defeated by a higher margin, with 73.9% of voters rejecting it. It was the highest ever no vote percentage in an Irish referendum. And the US Justice Department has opened a criminal investigation into the Boeing 737 MAX blowout on an Alaska Airlines flight in January earlier this year. Investigators have contacted passengers, pilots and flight attendants on the flight. The flight had made an emergency landing on the 5th of January in Portland in Oregon after a fuselage panel ripped off mid-air. The investigation would inform the DOJ's review of whether Boeing complied with an earlier settlement that resolved a federal investigation following two fatal 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 19. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The US Coast Guard on Saturday said that it did not observe any remaining recoverable oil sheen during a morning overflight off the coast of Huntington Beach in California. The sheen was discovered after a Coast Guard helicopter flew over the site on Friday. Investigation into the cause of the sheen is currently underway. Catholics in Barcelona prayed for rain on Saturday as the Spanish region of Catalonia faces its worst drought on record. Some parts of the Iberian Peninsula are at their driest in 1200 years, forcing officials to consider bringing in water by ship. Former Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo has agreed to contest in the presidential elections expected to be held in October 2025. Gbagbo was president of the West African country from 2000 to 2011. He will lead the African People's Party, Côte d'Ivoire, in the elections. Streets and homes in the east of Bolivia's capital, La Paz, were flooded on Saturday after heavy rains caused the Yulani River to overflow its banks. The local government deployed machinery that worked to clean the rubble carried by water in the flooded streets. At least one person has died. Sports now. We'll start with badminton. Top seeds and former champions Satwik-Chirag, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty reached third consecutive final of 2024 and third final at French Open after a dominating win over reigning world champions Kang Min-hyuk and Seo Seung-jae of Korea 21-13, 21-16 in the men's doubles semi-final in Paris. India's top duo will face Chinese Taipei's Li Zhanghui and Yang Po-swan in the finals on Sunday. Earlier, Lakshya Sen was defeated after being pushed into a decider in his men's singles semi-final against Thailand's Kunlavut Wititson. The Indian had edged ahead just in time to claim the first game 22-20, but was outplayed by his Thai opponent in the second and third game to lose the match 22-20, 13-21 and 11-21. Tennis now. 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic was pushed by Alexander Vucic but held on to win his first match back in Indian Wells after a 5-year absence on Saturday. Looking to capture his record 6th title in the California desert, the world number 1 has not competed at the tournament since 2019 as he was unable to enter the US due to travel restrictions related to COVID-19 pandemic. But he received a warm welcome from the fans on hand for the 6-2, 5-7, 6-3 victory. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.